Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to show you my 2020 plant propagation setup. This is like the fourth round of me doing videos for plant propagation. The very first video I ever put on my channel was a plant propagation video from my commercial greenhouse from my old nursery. And then I did a couple rounds of backyard plant propagation as well, building two different greenhouses, showing simple techniques of putting, how to put them in just plastic bins and in a shady space, that kind of thing. A lot of those videos are probably very valuable and it may be easier for you to accomplish in your own yard, propagating some of the perennials and shrubs and trees and things that you might want to make more of in your own yard. This time around, I'm using an electronic leaf, which I haven't shown before. I've used one of these many times in the past. Basically, this is just a metal contraption here that has a fake leaf on it, a fake metal leaf on it, and it gets weighted down by water. As it dries out, it lifts up and it turns the irrigation back on. It's a super simple setup. They're made out of stainless steel, so they last forever. This is the second one I've owned in 30 years. The other one I have over here is almost 30 years old. I bought this one new. That one I had beat on it enough over the years that it wasn't, it was sticking. Anyway, I got a new one. These are available on Amazon. They're not inexpensive, but again, it's a tool that'll last you for 20 or 30 years. So I'll start with this structure here. This was actually the metal frame from a metal building that was in the yard here that I just took the skin off of. And I realized the frame was pretty well made, and so I've painted it black. And then I ordered a shade cloth, which you can order online. You can order any kind of size shade cloth. Lots of different websites that will allow you to do that. And then you have grommets put in them so you can attach them to whatever you're using. And this is a 40% shade cloth, meaning it blocks 40% of the sun's rays. I'm actually going to have wood around the bottom of this thing. This thing is far from finished, and I'm putting new fencing around this. You're going to see some ugly fencing in these propagation videos, but there was a big hurricane years ago that trees fell across this back fence back here. That's why it's flattened. It's all coming out. New fence is going in, so don't think that I don't recognize that the fence needs to be worked on. It will be, and probably during these propagation videos over the next month or two, you'll see that transform. Okay, the two things you need for propagation here are going to be, number one, you need a water source. And I have this water hose run back to a spigot on the house. And then you need electricity. There's an electric cord right here that is also run back to an outdoor plug on the house. And then you need some sort of an electronic valve here, which is these low voltage. This is a 1-inch valve. All this PVC line is 1 inch. You'll notice it's black. I painted it black because I wanted it to blend in. The white parts that you see are repairs that I've made that I will come back here and paint as well. So got my water supply, and it basically comes to here and it stops because that valve is closed. Okay, and then I have, like I say, I have electrical as well. Let me go into the house and show you real quickly what happens when this leaf dries out. And I think we'll be able to see a little bit of moisture left on it right here. As it dries out, it will slowly but surely pop up like this. Okay, it turns on the mist right there, which weights it back down immediately. There is a little piece on the back here that allows you to do some fine adjusting. There's a counterweight on the back of this leaf. Okay, so like I say, as that leaf dries out, it pops up and turns on the irrigation. I've showed these misters many times on the channel. I'll link all these parts and pieces down below, but these are, let me give you a better look at how one of these runs. I'll put it on that one right there. While I turn this on, you can see it just makes a fine mist out of the water. So that's how that operates. It has two wires running out of it. One connects to the electric back here, right here. And it just has the two wires right there. The nice thing about this leaf is that's a 24 volt transformer. So that cord I'm holding in my hand is 110 from the house. And then the power right here is converted down to 24 volt. And it runs over to the clock. And then from the clock switch, it runs back to here. And this is the and it's just the 2 wires that go onto the 24 volt gate or a valve right there. So easy for me to say, but they run to the valve. And so it's 2 wires that you can't mess up here and 2 wires that you can't mess up here. It's super, super easy. And the reason why I say that's nice is the old one that I had right here had 110 going into it and 110 going out of it. So you had 110 in a wet environment in the greenhouse, which is always a little bit nerve-wracking, honestly. And then you had to convert, you had to use something like this. This is a doorbell switch right here, or a doorbell piece that's used on a doorbell to convert the 110 power in your house down to a doorbell to 24 volts. And that's what I would use to step that down before I know this is confusing. It is irrelevant to this valve right here. So that's how I originally had to do that one. And I just hated having that 110 power inside that greenhouse anyway. But now it doesn't, it enters the greenhouse as 24 volts, comes back out as 24 volts. So low wattage. Last year I used, and a couple times I've used a timer like this Galcon timer, I'll link down below. Works in seconds, works great for this type of propagation. Same type of thing, it turns on, you know, every 7 or 8 minutes, whatever you set it for, runs for a few seconds and keeps them wet. The nice thing about the leaf is the leaf only comes on when it actually needs water in there. Whereas the timer is going to come on, you know, the clock's going to come on every time no matter what. Again, this thing will, it has the potential to stick up or stick down at some point, especially as it ages. When they're new, they work very, very reliably. But there is a time in the future where, and once you don't trust them, they're hard to trust again. But so this is the basic components, and I know that can be somewhat confusing, but literally all it is a water source and an electrical source, both of which you have on the side of your house, I guarantee it. And then the electronic leaf comes with the basic power converter, you know, converts this 110 down to 24 volts. And then it's 2 wires that run to it, super, super easy to connect. And then 2 wires that come out of it and run to your valve, just like this. I've got a waterproof box right here, and all this electronic stuff will go into that waterproof box. But that's the basics of it. I mean, there's really just not a lot to it. And then, you know, have the risers coming off. This is all 1-inch pipe, and then the risers are 1/2 inch right here, and they have the mist heads on top of them. But I'll link all this stuff down below. And that's the basics of it. And I've shown 99% of what you just saw is in the old videos. The only thing that's new is the electronic leaf, but it's basically wired in the exact same as the clock is. So let me cover a few other things that I'll be using during this, I'll call it season of propagation. These things I actually used every single time. Every single one of these, building a greenhouse and showing propagation, I've used the same exact mix, the same trays, the same everything. I usually show these little red snips, these Corona snips. They're great for doing repetitive motion. So if you were doing a lot of cuttings off of something during a day, or you're deadheading flowers, that kind of thing, great. They're unavailable right now. A lot of people are doing home gardening this year. So I'm going to be using a regular pair of my Corona pruners for now until I can get some more snips. These snips are like $11 or $12 or something like that on Amazon. And I use them for a few months doing propagation. And like I say, you can make thousands of cuts in a day without having any hand fatigue with them. The trays I use to stick my unrooted cuttings in are these 50 cell trays. They're super rigid. I've shown these many times. I do my vegetable seeds in them, annual seeds, perennial seeds, and propagation. It's a very sturdy tray. It can be, once they're filled with whatever soil mix you're using, they're pretty rigid, and you can hold them without using a bottom tray, which I kind of like. I use these over and over and over again, and if one of them gets damaged or 2 of them get damaged, you know, I'll twist them around somewhere, double stack them, and use them double stacked for another year or 2. So I can get years of use out of these. That's why I use them. So, and these are 50 cell trays, so we can root 50 plants in each one. Hopefully we get 50 plants rooted. The bottom trays, I actually don't use them like a normal bottom tray, like you know, putting it in here like this. I actually use these bottom trays to elevate my flats off of the ground in the greenhouse, and this gives me a barrier between the soil or gravel or whatever bottom material I'm using in the greenhouse and my unrooted cuttings. It's just basically a disease barrier that I use. So that's the only purpose of having the bottom trays for me, is to elevate my cuttings off the ground. Definitely don't want your unrooted cuttings tray sitting on the soil. The soil mix I use is a 50-50 mix of peat moss and perlite. I've shown that in every single season. Peat moss is not a sustainable product, really. It's mined, and one day we will probably run out of it. But for this particular purpose, there's really nothing better. I mean, there are people that use sand mixes and other things, but this is a sterile material, and so is the perlite, and so I'm not introducing any disease issues. You won't see me use peat moss for many other things, but I do for this small propagation things that I do. So that's peat moss, and then this is what the perlite looks like, which is just a blown up volcanic rock that's sterile. Be careful with the perlite. It puts a little smoke in the air that will actually make you cough. So wear a mask when you mix the perlite. Just when you mix it. Once it's mixed together and it's wet, it's not a problem anymore. But initially, but you can get small bags of perlite, small bags of peat moss on Amazon, no problem. These 50 cell trays, the pruners, everything that I'm showing in this video, it will be available on Amazon. So the next video that I put up will be showing how I get started, and I'm going to start with just one tray in the second video, 50 plants of kind of easy to root perennials that will root pretty quick for me, and I can kind of test my system before I go with anything that I feel like is a little more complicated. So the second video that goes up will be rooting perennials. Thanks for watching.